lines. This is a live stream recorded for Ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. It's Paint Along Thursday and we're finishing off the books, but I just wanted to go through what I've got on the palette. Underneath I'm using a Stay Wet palette, so that's one that's got it's actually has a seal on it, a bit like your Tupperware food containers. They have a little plastic seal round, so they are kind of airtight. And the Stay Wet palette, I don't use the actual palette, but this is what it looked like after last week. So because I'd put a little bit of the stand oil, and you can do this with ordinary oils, I dribbled a tiny bit on the top of each one and it kept them all moist, and the bottom was just about drying out. And so all I did was I lifted this over, I put a fresh piece of baking parchment or greaseproof paper, I put that over and wet it again. So it's very wet now, and that's going to last me another week. And because, as I say, I put this little oil on them, it kept them moist, and they just kind of slide off onto your palette knife, and you can drop them in the same place. I always have them in the same place. But this is what the top of the Stay Wet palette looks like, but obviously I'm not going to put them in here. I would put watercolours in here, but I wouldn't put acrylics and I wouldn't put oils, because it needs this damp system. And this is what we used at college. I've used it, we were taught this in the 70s, is kitchen roll, and you can do this on a plate and you can do it on any tray, but it won't keep for a week. It will just keep for a couple of days. Kitchen paper, about 3 or 4 layers, quite dampened, and then greaseproof paper or baking parchment. And this paper is exactly the same as you use for your liners for your easels, sorry, for your palettes. So never buy the replaceable palette paper, because it's only greaseproof paper, baking parchment, that you can get for £1 from the pound shop. You just have to cut it into shape. It doesn't come in the magic little shapes. So that's really what you should have, and then you have, that's actually the lid. But I've just clipped it onto there. I clip it upside down, anything upside down, put the clips on, and it's kept those like that for a week. And it would do the same with acrylics, so you never have to waste acrylics. And I like the fact it's on a white, because the whiter your surface of your palette, the better colour combination you've got. When you're mixing colours on black or grey or dark brown, you can't really see the true colours. So ideally it needs to be white or just off-white. Have you got any questions? So thanks for joining me on this overcast day in the UK, but we're still having a bit of a heat wave. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was this. Now, we don't need it for this, but if you were doing a landscape, if you were doing a building, or you were doing something outside or far away, I could have used it for this. And the box doesn't actually fit, but I forgot what it's called. I think it's called a slide gauge. And Derwent have them for measuring. So what we could have done is, if I put you up to here, what we could have done is measured that corner there, and you can change this so it will make things bigger or smaller, and then we could have measured that on the painting. And that's how, so you measure with one side and you check it on the other side if you want to make it bigger or smaller. Now I haven't moved this, you can move it up and down, I haven't. But I could do, if I did this, whoopsie, and my arms are really bad today. So if I do that, and then I do that, we can see it's way out. So, and I've never done this before, so bear with me. if you unscrew it, you can slide them across. Now these are Victorian and they've probably never been slid, so so what I need to do is I need to move that to there. So if we move down, are we making it bigger or smaller? So it doesn't move. I thought it moved on that. Oh, it moves on that one. I think it's just because it's quite old. It's moving now. So I should have done this to start with, but as I say, Derwent have brought one out. They're about £10, and you measure with one end. So we want to go the other way. So I would think it's a bit fiddly, but at least you can see exactly how it's done. Because so I'm going to measure that, and I want it to be there. Oh wow, that's about. I think let's do that one. We can do that one. Yep, it's maybe just a smidgen that way. And then I don't have to do this with my arms all the time. I can just hold it like that. So you still need your arm straight, and that will give you perfect. But if you want to do it double, bigger, smaller, sometimes what's the best thing to do is to do this, and then you can tell if it's going to be on there or not. So it's for measuring. I was going to measure that one, wasn't I? I mean, because I'm actually almost touching it, I don't have to have my arms outstretched, which is quite nice. Let's try that one. Again, it just wants to go a bit further up here. So if we measure that one, and we measure that one, oh, I've gone the wrong way. It's this way I want to be. I may have to give up with this because my hands are a bit off today. I made a book yesterday, and it was a bit of a large book, although I call it my little sketchbook. I've made one for painting. Oops. And I thought it'd be quite good to use them for painting. I think that's about right. I think that's actually about right. So if I measure that one there like that, it means that mine's out a bit. And that's those. Just try it a smidgen. So what I could have done is set this first. So we'll set that one, and we'll see if it's about right. I just need just a rough gauge, because obviously not every angle is going to be perfect, because obviously I'm not that good yet. But I would have liked something to be straight. The thing is, if it's not the same, every angle will be different. I'll have to change every single angle, and obviously I don't want to do that. But it's not far out, so if you measure that one again, that one, oops, is that one. I think this one is correct. That one's correct. No, it's not. I think it's. Let's have another go. But it's a very, very accurate way. if you want to get something really accurate, it's a very good way to do that. I thought that was right. I think that one's okay now. Yep, I think that's going to be okay. So I tighten it up. It's got to be tight so you can move it, but not tight so it's going to go up and down. So I think that's about right. So it's easier to use, and it's a bit easier for me to hold, because I can get that at an angle that I want, and then I can just check to see if it's correct. So thanks for stopping by. We need to get everything correct now, because we're going to start to put the detail in. So we do need everything to be kind of measured and to make sure that it's about in the right place. And so you can measure those. Now I'm going from my angle, not yours, so it might look slightly out. But that's going to tell me if that book's correct. And I can't match these up to what I was doing, so I may have to give up. If I'd have set them to start with, it would have been fine, but it's too difficult for me to sort now. That's the general idea. And I said, Derwent have brought a wooden one out. I think that's right. And I need to measure 1 or 2, because obviously I'm hopefully going to have 1 or 2 right. I think that's about right, actually. And the only thing is, you've got to do is not. Yeah, according to this, every angle I've got's out. So that's quite good, isn't it? Yep, according to this, every angle I've got is a bit out. So if we have one last go and it doesn't work, I'll have to give up. Oh, that looks about in the right place. And the next thing I wanted to look at was this. Now, somebody made me this, bless them. And what you do is you mix your colour. And so you wanted to get this green, and it's, I might have to turn that light out actually. You want to mix the colour, and if it's a seaside, or if it's a flower, and you want the exact colour, so what you do is you mix your colour that you think is as near as you can, and you put a blob on the end here, and then you look through, and what you want to do is you want to see half the circle is the colour, and behind is the thing you actually want to match up. And if this whole circle looks the same colour, you know you've got the exact same colour. You've matched it perfectly, because you've got the colour on here, which is the paint, and then the colour you're looking at, you're trying to match up. So you need a complete circle of perfect colour, and then you know you've matched it up. So if I was looking at that brown there, I'm trying to do it looking at the screen. Sorry, I'm trying to look at the screen. I'd want that cream, but I'd also want it on the end there. But this is a fantastic tool, and if you type in, I think it's colour matching, there's something to do with the distance of these two. So it's just a screw-in hook on any thin piece of wood that's handy to hold. I just happen to have an old piece of chipboard and painted it with black acrylic, and a piece of plastic, any kind of plastic. The best plastic is from an old, I think this is an old plastic palette that had broken. Something that would clean off. So you can use acrylics on here, and you can use, I don't know if you can use watercolour. I presume you can if you're using it thick enough, like I do. Gouache, anything that you're going to have a solid colour, you can match your colours up. So with these two things, you've got your measuring, and you've got your colour matching. You can do a fairly decent job than just trusting your eye. So without further ado, so all these are kind of oily. Now I'll go through the colours. I've got mixable white, which is normally called, let's see if I pick the right one up, zinc white. It's sometimes called zinc white or mixable white. This is a bit cheaper, and it's good for mixing. The other white is titanium, and that's for highlights, and it's a stronger pigment, and it's normally more expensive. I've got lemon yellow, and these actually came in the set. This is an original set, so I always think it's a good set. Lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, cadmium red, alizarin crimson. This is where I got my colours originally from. I always use these colours. French ultramarine or ultramarine, cerulean blue, yellow ochre, and the only one that wasn't in there is I've substituted. They normally put phthalo green in, and I like to mix my own greens, so I took that one out and I've put raw umber in. I haven't got black because I don't need black. There isn't black here, so I don't need black. So I'm just going to, it's got a bit of a stick on there. So I like to mix the paints with a palette, especially if you're using these. I've got the thinner, which is artisan thinner. If these were oils, that would be distilled odorless mineral spirits or odorless turpentine. This one is a fast drying medium, so you wouldn't have it in acrylics, but in oils I think it's quinine, acronine. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a medium for fast drying oils. And this one would be stand oil, or I use, can't remember the name of it now. There's linseed oil, which is traditional, or stand oil, and I use stand oil. Water mixable stand oil. And that's going to give you your glazes and that lovely kind of sheen to your canvas. So it's quite good for glazing, and it's quite good for thinning out if you want to work in fine detail. So last week we put, oopsie, come on, behave yourself. Last week I put a rough kind of background on, and it's not brilliant, but it's down. we did a rough sketch of the actual books, and then a bit of measuring. But when I put the background back in, I kind of lost a good few sharp corners, so we need to put those back in. So I don't know if you want that to be kind of more over there, so you can actually see what I'm doing. When it gets to some more detail, I'll pan in. So what we've got now is we've got all these little all these gorgeous pages. Now most of these books are over 100 years old. These are 1911, 1907. The Doctor's books are Victorian. I don't think that one's quite as old, but I think it's turn of the century. And that's a 30s, 20s, 30s book, so they're all quite old. This one is definitely Victorian. It's a gardening book. It's got all these gorgeous little things that we now need to get in here somehow. So let me just see if I can get into position and make sure we've got all our angles correct. So I don't want to turn it like this to measure. I'm keeping it dead straight and then transferring it across, because that's the easiest way to do it. It's just my hands are a bit pants today, so just want to have a couple of measurements to see. So I'm not actually changing my size, so I don't need to do it the other side. I can just use this because I don't need to do that. So from there to there, it seems a bit out, does that? Let me just have a look at, use a paintbrush. Let's see what we've got. So if you haven't got one of those, use your arm outstretched. Don't take your arm in and out because it's going to change. So that's dead straight. But if I move my arm and my elbow's not straight, everything changes. So you'll never get everything to match. So yeah, I've got that out. I think I changed that top one, that's why. Let me check that one. That one should be okay because that's the one that was right. Yeah, that one's right. I didn't like the angle of this one, so I changed it. I moved these two books, which is not a good idea when you've already drawn it. So not so bad down here. I think these are actually okay. Let me just double check that one. Yeah, it's definitely this one that's out, and it's because I wanted this side and this shadow and this highlight on top here, and I couldn't get that. I'm just going to move that over slightly so I can get this wire from tickling my face because it's annoying me. And if it's going to be 5 hours, it's going to be annoying. So we know that this one's right. It's this one that might want changing. So we'll just have a look. Oh, that's not so bad. What about that way? So now I know that this angle's right, or this length is right. I know that's right. So now I'm going to measure that one. And you don't have to measure if you don't want to measure. It's just if you want it correct. So I'm doing this one, aren't I? So you see, I think that one's out a bit there. So if that's out, what's that level with now? Oopsie, it was right at the right time. Can't use that. It's got a sticky on it. It's got a little sticky label on it. It's annoying me. So. And that wants to come straight down to that wants to be level with, oh, it is level with that one. That wants to be level. Right, I'm not going to bother measuring it. If the book's so many inches out, it's inches out. I have a real problem today holding anything, so we'll just get on. So need I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to put this green in. And I like the fact that you can see under that one and on top of that one. And I think I moved on my paintbrushes because I was working in watercolours, but I've got a couple that are okay. That'd be okay. I used these yesterday with the... they'll be fine, and they're small enough. They're small enough. Oh, one thing I did want to get is my... I couldn't get it. I'm just going to have to move that silly. So I don't know if you need the angle moving a bit. Maybe I'll focus in on that book, and then is anybody painting along? If anybody's painting along, I can zoom in a little bit. Is there too much glare on that one? Maybe it's too much glare. It's not that one, I think it's this one. What did I want? I'm going to mix. So I'm going to start with the yellow. So if you want a bright green, you've got the brightest yellow and the coolest blue, but then if you put a touch of French ultramarine in there, it's going to dull your green down to very dark forest green. Now this is quite dark, but then it kind of has a little bit of a... I'm going to put a different yellow in there, and because that has a touch of red in that yellow to make it, it's made it an olivey colour. Now my paints are all yummy because they've got that oil sitting on top of them, so they're all kind of quite nice. You've got to be a bit careful you don't go through your greaseproof paper, and you need to mix a lot. Now that's a little bit too watery for me. And I haven't got any stand oil in there, and I haven't got any fast dry medium in there, so I want a dollop of both. I want the consistency of double cream. I paint with the same, I'm very boring, I paint with the same consistency, whether it's gouache or it's watercolour. And then I've got a brown there, so I'll leave that over there. little brush was I going to use? I think I'm going to use this one. I've fallen in love with this one actually, but there's not much in it. So I'll use this one and then probably go to that one a bit later. So I can rinse my brush out, drain it off on a baby wipe, so it's a damp water brush, and then put that up there. Just wondering if the light's too shiny. Hi Melody, welcome to Wendy's Designs. Just wondering if the light's a little bit too much on there. If that's actually slightly better. It's not for me. No, it might not stay there. It's not really that stable, but it might not be quite as shiny. So we're working quite fine now. No, I don't like that. Oops. No, I don't like that at all. I may not be able to do this because I haven't done it for a long time and I might have forgotten how to do it. Knew it. I don't like the consistency of that at all. Going to mix some more. If your consistency is not right, it doesn't matter what you do. No, I don't like that. Oh dear. This is why I'm not an artist, because I can't paint to order. May have to give up on this. Something else that's not working. I knew I'd have trouble today. I just knew I'd have trouble today. So if you can see, this is a slightly better consistency. Oh, the camera's just doing that now. It's a slightly better consistency. And then adding the French ultramarines darkened it down quite a lot. Yeah, I think the water's coming through and I don't know why. But these are really old paints, so it could be any reason. I don't like that either. Yeah, it's not going to be a good day today. It's not going to be a good day today. Let me have a think. Where's my palettes? Don't really want to work on that. I haven't primed this or anything, but I don't really want to work on it. But I can't really work on this. I think sometimes if the paints are old, oh, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I just can't paint today. Oh dear me. Never mind. It's my own fault. I should never start painting again. There's a reason why I gave up. I'm just going to see if I can find a thing. Ow! Right, let's have a look. Found an old wooden palette. So I'm going to turn it over. Just going to... Right, just want some stand oil. I'm just going to put a little bit of this oil on here. Because it's just going to oil it up a bit. Just a very, very thin layer on. Right, so put those on there. Yes, I'm just having a bad day, apologies. It's my own fault. I tried to make a book yesterday. Oops, I want that one there, I want that one there. I'm going to work backwards. I made a book yesterday, so, and I'm going to put that one there. Then I know which one it is. I made a book yesterday, and it was wonderful being outside. It was grand being outside, but see how nice and oily these are? That's because I've got this little bit of stand oil on top. It just keeps them squishy. need some more blue, cerulean blue out, so I'll put that in the middle because I know I'm going to use, oops, I'm going to use that in a minute. And what it's done, I don't know what it's done. I realise why I don't make books anymore. And why I don't do anything anymore. Because I pay for it the next day, so apologies for grumpy pants. The good thing about this now is I can actually slide these onto here. And this is what they're designed to do. I'm just going to put that one there because it's a bit. So that what they're designed to do is I'm left-handed, so you can use it like this. So you dip and you do and you dip, and you mix. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do that, so I'm going to pop mine down there. So the Stay Wet palette is brilliant for that. It's just not. It's just too wet. It's my own fault. It's because I've wet it too much. But sometimes the paints play up if you haven't used them a while. I found that when I did my degree. I just wonder if I could put it there. If I'm really lucky, that little bobble on the end of there is going to go in that hole. No, I'm not going to be lucky, am I? No, not. Never mind. Sometimes you have to rejiggle. And if you wanted to stand up, you'd do this. You know, you can mess about with things till you get them comfortable. One thing you can't mess about with is your pile of books and your easel. It's a good idea once you've got it in a certain position to leave it there. Sticky. It's sticky stuff is that mixable binder. That's going to be in my way now, but never mind. You have to be comfortable, and it has to be the right way around for you, because if you're not, you can't paint for a long time, and it takes a long time. So you've got to be comfortable, and it's got to feel right. If it's not right, you can't do it. I'm actually going to turn that round because I'm going to turn that round. So I needed some more cerulean blue. Now I use a lot of cerulean blue, or cerulean blue. I always call it cerulean blue, because it's my it's my favourite colour for greens, and that's why I use most of it. I use a lot of it because I do like to make my own greens, and you should be there really. So I'm going to use that bit there. So this is a bright green. Oh, you can't see for the lights. So this is a bright green. So I want a dibble of stand oil and a dunk of fast drying medium, and that's going to give you a nice consistency. Now, as I say, these paints are quite old. They're at least, well, they're all since I was at uni. I haven't bought any, so this is going to give you that. That's the bright grass green, bright green. And you can't get that with any other blue apart from the palest, which is cerulean blue, and the lightest yellow. So I'm going to put a touch of cadmium yellow, and cadmium yellow, colour-wise, is lemon yellow with a touch of orange. So now I've got a really nice olive colour, but that's a light olive. And that's a dark olive. So I'm going to put a touch of French ultramarine. I'm just going to do this side here because this is the best way to mix. If you mix this and it's too dark, you haven't ruined it all. And that's actually quite nice. So you can put a bit on the end of your palette and you can show it up to it. Actually, that's very near. And I can keep that green for if I want to use a different green somewhere else. Just going to make it a touch darker. And that's like butter. This is like butter because I've got a touch of stand oil to make it flow. I've got a touch of fast dry medium, which is going to help it kind of bind together and dry faster. Now I want that just a touch wetter than that, so I'm going to go with a smaller brush actually, I think. So this is a Hedgehog Artist Hog Round Winsor & Newton, and I see these beautiful brushes were in that set, so I can wash it in water, and then I'm going to just dip it into the thinner. So if this was oils, that would be your mineral spirit, and then I'm just going to kind of loosen it up a little bit here. So now this is like double cream, pouring cream, and that's like a soft butter. And I'm going to work in this little area here. Now I'm a happy girl. I've got the right consistency. Just wondering if it's the big light. See if I can get the lights better. Hubby's gone upstairs, otherwise I'm sure he'd play. Unless it's that one. No, it's not that one. I didn't think it was that one. Because that's going to show those nice shadows and highlights on there. So, let's have a look. Is that slightly better? No, I think it's the actual. I think it's the big one. Just got to be a bit careful because I've got 3 wires trailing. Be a bit careful. What does that look like? That's no better, is it? It must be the light from the outside then. The lights for cameras are so bad. Whoopsie. Avalanche. Yes, it's the natural light outside, just bear with me. It's going to look like we've had a death in the family, but never mind. Whoopsie. Right. I think that's slightly better. Do we think that's slightly better? If I could just turn the easel without having a major avalanche. That's better. That looks a lot better. Happy girl now. You see, artists are very pedantic. So I can't see what I'm doing now, but never mind. Right, so it's not going on too thick, but I need now to get and I like that bit of a kind of a thing there going on. Now we're getting into the interesting bit now is the kind of that kind of goes straight over there. Have I taken too much light away now? Yep, it's going to be the shadowy things. So there's a really nice bit there, and it's always easier to work on top because you can put your hand on your work. Now somewhere I have an awl stick, and it's basically, I made them out of garden canes with an old sock twisted on the end with some cotton wool in, And this is quite interesting under here. We've got that really kind of broken, and then we have some more green. And it goes to about here. Again, we've got to keep measuring if we want to keep it fairly accurate. And I love that squishy there, so it's actually there. So we can now start to get a bit more detail. It's always easier to go that way. And I'm trying not to make it too thick, because I just put a thin layer. So that's why a touch of that distilled liquid is taking it from a buttery consistency a bit further. And then we've kind of got this going on here, and we can see a tiny bit under there then. And then we can't see anymore, it disappears. And then we can see it again just on the end there. And you only want a little bit of paint on the end of your paintbrush, if you can. Try and get rid of everything else off that paintbrush, and you want to normally try to work with the bottom. And then this one kind of does a really weird thing. It kind of is up there. Again, if you're sticking to your canvas, this is where you want an oil, an awl. Have I got a big ugly brush I don't like? A soft brush. And if you use it on the end here, you're not going to touch any wet paint, but I just need this. And it steadies your hand as well. It really does steady your hand. And actually it's not that long. It goes up here, but it's not that long. So thanks for joining me, guys. It's always a bit fraught when you start when you first start. So I don't have, if I sit back, you see, and paint like this, it's completely different. So I've got to be a bit careful about that, about what I can see when I move. But the papers kind of spill over on there. So and I don't have any other green apart from this bottom one here. So remember I had, oops, I've just put my thing on it. Remember I left that green, so now I can just put a touch of the distilled, and then I've got some dark on the brush, and normally what I would do is I test everything, but I'm just going to go for this one. So I think this is a nice green, and again it's a very, very thin layer, but it's going to be a good coating. So if I'd have used all that up, I wouldn't have had this green. So this green is actually going to be connected. Now we're not putting any shades, any shadows. I just want flat colour at this particular stage. And to get all the shades, all the facets, as we say, of shades down, all the colour down. and all the shapes in the right places. So I think I've got to have maybe a bit more of that. I think we need a bit more. Whoopsie. Sorry about that. Whoops, come on. You know you want to. So I so enjoyed being outside yesterday making my book, but and that's what I intended to do. I knew this was too much for me, so the paint-alongs will be in the big book that I've just made yesterday, because it's just a bit I so wanted to do some more paintings, but I don't think it's going to happen. But we have to concentrate on what we can do and not on what we can't. Right, so I've got that one in, and then I can go even lighter because it's here. And I can just clean off. Now I always remember this young lady here, and I always think of Nina Muscuri, and she was the dancer, she was the singer in the late 70s. But this lady here, Nancy Kominski, and she used to always have a toilet roll hanging from the easel, because of course in those days we didn't have kitchen roll, and I always remember. So this is with pastels, but I remember doing oil paints, and I have a video of hers doing a cottage, and she used to do the grids on everything to make sure everything was in the right place. So that's another way to work if you want to work that way. So I'm going to put a touch of white into here, because you see what happens to it when you put a touch of white into that. We get a very pale olive colour, which isn't far out, and it's quite cold, so I don't want to put this yellow in because cadmium is warm because it's got red in it. This one doesn't have any cadmium in it at all. So if I put a smidgen of this one in, and again I might be wrong, we're just playing along, pop it there and put a touch in. I will just put a touch in and only play with half your mixture, because if you make a complete boo-boo you can still go back and then you're nearer. And I don't need very much of this, and the oil paints will sink in because I didn't put much oil on it. You need to season like you do with a chopping board. You need to season your wood so your oil sit on top. So I quite like that colour actually, and what you can do is offer it up, and it's a little bit yellowy, so we need to tone it down to just the tiniest touch of brown, but I'm going to dunk it there. And it's going in the right direction. So I'm going to take that bit up now, put a bit more in, and when you get a feel of it's going in the right direction you can start playing about. I actually quite like that. It's still just a bit pale, but we now know that brown's the right thing to do, and this is good to practice. You now know that it's the brown that we need in here, and if you go too far we can take it back. So now I've got a fawn colour, which actually is quite nice for the other books. It's not far out, that actually. It's just maybe a touch of yellow, because remember in the brown there's blue, so if you put yellow in it you're going to kind of green it back up again. And we want a dollop of of stand oil and a dollop of fast dry medium, and then we can give that a real good mix. And it's gone from soft butter, it's still quite soft butter, but we've got another trick in a minute. So I like that colour, it's going to be really nice, and it's as near as damn it. Remember, we're just doing a flat colour, we're not doing lots and lots and lots of... So I've got to clean the brush. So wonderful to clean your brush in a water pot when you're playing with oils. It's so good. I'm going to put a touch of the mixable dilute. It looks like water, but it's dilute. I can't remember what it's called. Thinner. Again, if it was acrylics, you'd use water. If it was traditional oil paints, you'd use odorless thinner or mineral spirits. And you can sometimes, if you're using a big painting, you can use a dollop of water, but these will crack. So if I mix this now, take that off there, I can mix this now. It's almost double cream, pouring cream, and I really do not need very much at all, just a touch. So I'll push this back up again, and this wants to go on here. So this is what we're doing, is building up, and I've got to be careful now because I've got this green here. I don't want to lose that green because I've just put it in, and there's no shadows in here yet. We're just putting a flat base colour. Now sometimes if you want to, you can make notes of how you made that. So obviously I took it from the green. Again, I've got that nice kind of strange curl on there. And there is a wonderful highlight right across there. So this colour is going to change very soon. It's just, this is the block colour. And then on the bottom one, it kind of comes out a bit. So I think I made that one too big, didn't I, last time? Yep, it's here, and it wants to come out of the book there. And we just have, now there must be a bit of a something, I think that wants to be just a touch out. You can always tell if you're out because it would be a straight line down there. So we're going to take that way, and then of course that's going to come out here, but not very much, just the tiniest amount. And then it wants to, it's got a funny angle on this when it goes out, and then it kind of comes in a bit. And so you don't see very much of that, and it has kind of a bit of a kink on it like that. So we've got this in, and you don't really want it thick because we want thin layers. And actually I'm going to make that a bit deeper because there is a deeper shadow in there. It goes quite deep, does that? Because we need a shadow in there. And we've got just that little bit of something on the end there. And you can still play with it and blend it while it's, and actually got a bag in the way, so I think we said we're going to stop it there. So there is the tiniest little bit, and I mean tiniest little bit there. I don't know what that is. I've got something stuck on there. So there's a lot of shadow going in there. Unless I want to do the next book down, didn't I really? So when we get to this one now, I didn't know what that was, but I didn't want to be on there. Just touch that up a bit. I'll do it with my finger because my finger's dry. And of course this is quite good stuff because it's you can wipe everything with a baby wipe, so that's really good. The next thing, so that's wet. The next thing I want to do is this one's a paler one, so again we'll just go down to there. Make sure you keep your palette clean because this is the one that I love mixing with the palette. So I'm going to use the next space across because it's a bit paler, and then that's going to lend into something else. I'm just got enough oil on that. I'm just going to put some more stand oil on that one, and it's going to keep them all soft and squidgy for next time. So I'm going to make quite a lot of this because and I'm going to mix that, and I want a cream colour because there's a lot of creams and ivories going on. So this is kind of, again, it's like butter now. Give it a real good mix. So this is like, it's not soft butter, it's just ordinary butter. And always remember what's on top of your palette knife as well. So that's actually a really nice colour, and I think that's that one. It's slightly greeny, so I'm going to put a touch of brown to it. Just over here. And that just kind of, there's red in the brown. So when you get your colour, which I think I've got that one. I've got the next book. So that's quite a nice colour, but it's a bit kind of and I'm not making so much because I don't make a lot. So now with the palette I've got like a little dollop of stand oil and a dollop, probably is too much, I'll put that over there, just a bit too much, just kind of a small dollop of each. You don't want it too sloppy, and that's made that like soft butter now, almost like cream, that one. So we're almost there. Most artists paint with that, but I just go a touch thinner. But I just have a touch of on the brush and mix it to this here. So this now is like pouring cream. And that's because I'm doing layers. I'm building up these layers. Oh, so maybe I've already done this one. I didn't think I had. So we've got just about there. You can just see that one. And then we've got kind of a bit of a slope on it. And again, I've got to be careful now. I don't want to lose that green one because I've done that. And then we've kind of got this going on here. And I think that book's a lot deeper than that. It comes down to there. And then we've got the foreshortening where it kind of kinks up there. Just let me check that angle. Again, you've always got to be checking your... Oopsie. Just like that, and then it comes down here. This is the book I moved, so of course it's slightly out. So we've got this kind of nice thing going up here. And then we've got this kind of really strange angle going on here. I've got to be careful because I don't want to lose now. I can always take off when I put the book, the pages in, I can take that off, but I just want to get a little bit of a semblance of order, as I call it, so you can just see what you're doing. You see, I can see over all that there. And then the pages actually come down. So I'm going to take some white and put it here. And again, I want a dollop of stand oil. And again, it's not very much, a very small pea. A small bead, maybe about a small bead, and the white always picks up lots of other things as well, so a good thorough mix sometimes can give you a really nice, and it's not white, it's off-white because it's picked up some really nice colour. I'm going to give it a bit more of that colour. Again, really, this is a very old dry wooden palette. You could really do to give it a good seasoning to kind of keep everything on top. Now, I actually like that colour, and if I hold it next to the white, it's not white. But it's still just that bit too soft. So clean the paintbrush. And just a touch to break the surface. And so now we'll go back up to there. Sorry, whoopsie. So thanks for stopping by, guys. This is a live show recorded for Ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'm playing with my water mixable oils. I just need to measure that one. And they're just going to go there. They kind of go a bit further. Yeah, so it's just go a little bit further there. And again, I'm just going to block in this. I want to block in this now, so we know what we're doing with this these pages. Now there is a page that's going to be put in a second, and that's that lovely curly page there. It seems to be out now. The shades are all out, but I'm just wanting some colour on there. Oh, it looks terribly white. It isn't. It isn't. Better dull that down a bit. It looks a bit too much. Just scrape all that off and put a touch. Put a touch of yellow ochre in it, because yellow ochre isn't a bright yellow. It's got some dullness in it, and it warms things up a bit. It's not quite as drastic as brown. That's a better colour, I think. And again, touch of sand oil. I think I might just put a dollop of this. Again, it's a small bead, just to get it that. And the trick is to mix it in, because there's nothing worse than some of your painting not drying because the paint you put on wasn't quite the same consistency. So that's like soft butter now. And I just want a touch of that, and a baby wipe. And it's such a wonderful thing just to use a baby wipe. And I think I'm going to take that off there as well. Yeah, I'll take it off. I've taken the original colour off, but it's fine. Right, it could do to dry a little bit, but it's fine. I just needed to get rid of that stark white, although there are some nice stark white shadows in there. So it kind of goes underneath that one. It still looks quite a stark white, but it isn't. It's an ivory colour. It's a stone colour. That's probably the best. And these books are kind of stony colours. So that little thing there goes. The book one goes over that one, and it comes round to that side there. So it's on that side at that side, and on the other side of the other one. Just. And it's a very, very steep. Yeah, it's very steep. But there's a lot of interest in just that small amount. No, that's too big. So I'm going to darken that down a bit. Get a little bit of yellow ochre. I think that's maybe a bit cooler, that one actually. It's definitely on the cool side, is that one. I think. And again, just a touch. So this is considerably darker. Tonal wise, it's actually darker than the other one, so that wants to go up there a bit. So we can foreshorten that one a bit, and that wants to go at that side. Once the other things are in, it should be fine. I want to work in quite thin layers. Two reasons. One is they dry, and the other one is you've got more control than you have if you're just going thicker. There's a nice shadow under there as well, so we need to get that in. It's always a good idea to work in the direction of what we've got. So these are books, the pages, they've got to be horizontal. And I haven't got the colour exact because I'm going to be playing with it a bit more. Oh, welcome back, Melody. Welcome back. I just want to test this. It's a bit thick, is that? But it'll thin. I can thin it down. When you've got shadows and things, all sorts of things happen. And I've changed that to be a cover, but I don't know if I can paint that, but I should be able to. This can be, these are very similar, so I can go in here. I'm making those red, but I can go in here and get these pages kind of another layer. And this is what I do, is, I don't know if it's right, but this is what I do. I just kind of keep building these little layers up. Almost transparent. They're very much like glazes, but I don't know if I'm clever enough to do glazes. So I'm just going to put, again, a bead of each, just to keep. So it's gone from butter to thick cream, and then that's allowing me just a touch of the thinner. So I can just kind of go in there and kind of really get these sections going now with the way things happen. So that's there, and then that comes underneath. I'm going to put a curl on each one, I think. Now, I had intended to ask hubby to lift these books so I could have taken all the covers off, but I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess that they're all going to be curled up. Now, I don't normally do that, but I had such trouble trying to match up the painting last time. Didn't really fancy doing that again. So thanks for stopping by. Hope it's not like watching paint dry, which it is. It takes a long time before you get to the exciting bit. This is the build-up, but this is the bit that's important, because with all these layers and glazes, the books kind of look that little bit much better. So that one underneath, so we had, oh, that's the top of it, so we don't want that. This is the one that's got that really nice bashed corner, so we can take that one up there. And again, I'm going to make that red. So when I do these reds, I'm going to make that red, because I just want to make that a little bit red. I want to keep out of that green though, because I don't really want that green. So that one is that way around then. That's this one here, and that really does have a that one kind of goes out a bit then, doesn't it? Yeah, it goes out that way. I think there's a paper sticking off that one as well. Oopsie. So just a dollop of just dip the end of the paintbrush in, and that one has that really nice kind of curl going on here. And it kind of sprays out a bit, does that one? So again, that's quite nice. So we need to get all this underneath. We know what's going on, and then we can put all the paper curls and all the good shadows and things on later. But unfortunately, we have to get all this in, because you can't paint around the outside. It's always easier to paint this first. And then when this is all correct, we can then go in there and say, right, let's tear all these books up now, and we get the dog hair. So again, that one, I have to put it in, but it has a big paper in front of it, a big paper curl, but we want this edge, this nice edge in here, so that's got to come in next. And that one actually goes really strange. It starts there and it curls round. I think it needs to be a little bit fatter. It needs to be a little bit fatter, that one, to curl round. It's got quite a lot going on here. And we've got that paper curl as well, so I think that one might have to come down a bit, because we've got a lot, there's a lot going on that bottom corner there. That's the interesting bit, because it's right in front of you. Now then, this one's kind of got a bit skewy, so that one is under there, so we know that one's underneath. It's a lot shorter, it's a lot smaller. It's going there. And then this one's coming out to go there. Now we can see that, and that gun is going to curl around just out that little bit. I don't know what these bits are. I'm not happy with that. Take that bit out. Don't like that. Not happy with that at all. Don't know what that is. Right. Got to be a bit careful because the green's tacky. So one, and then we want the next one, and the next one's here, and that one comes out just a bit more, that one, so that's the one that we want out. And that has a really nice kind of curly bit, and that one as well. And that one's just a bit further out than the others. And then that one's a bit of a funny angle, and then that one's in there as well. So have you got any questions? Plodding along. Oops. So I'm going to do a little bit of that red. I'm just conscious that they are a bit glistening. I'm just going to put a dollop of the oil over the top again, and it's just going to keep them all nice and glistening. And stop all these paints drying out. They're not going to dry it anyway, but I just thought I'd just to be on the safe side. Oopsie, there we go. So I'm just picking up a dollop of the oil and just touching the top. And that's just going to keep them nice and glistened, so they won't dry out. So I'm going to put that there. Put that there. I'm going to put this all together. So that was some of my light and some of my dark, and now I've got kind of a creamy colour, and I thought I'd just do that one. So touch of oil, and it's gone from soft butter to a kind of a runny. Whoopsie, my hands are not working well today, and I've just painted on there. Right, put that back up again. And I'm just going to go back into here. I think most of these are okay. Just make sure that, you know, I've got all these pages kind of coming up. And every time you do, you just that little bit more detail, just another little touch of something. So like just under there will accentuate, I've forgotten the word, make that one stick out better. And then this kind of sprayed out because we know they're kind of quite old. And then the next one is underneath, and that's kind of got a nice little thing going on. And then that one's the same, that's got sprayed pages out of it. And the next one's just got a few as well. And we're just building up the little quirkiness of each one. That one's going to spray it out a bit. And just keep doing this until eventually there's no more detail to put in, it's all in there. So go back to that one, and again that one's got a little, so what I'm going to do next is probably put a background on and then go back in there for negative space and kind of have a bit of a jiggle that way. And that again lends itself to and there's something quite nice playing on canvas. Try not to get any thick lines going because you don't really want any thick. It's just lots of glazes, and then your painting's going to have a lot of richness to it. And the last one I showed didn't have that because it's only got like 3 or 4, maybe 10 layers, glazes, whereas if you can get 30 or 40 layers, there's almost a richness. Completely different to Prima alla Prima, which is like it's painting primas all in one go first, finishing it off in one go. This isn't at all like that. This is just building those layers up. And it's quite therapeutic if your paint behaves itself. So I haven't done this one and I haven't done that one, so again I'm going to go just think I'm going to just put now I've actually got that natural line in there, so I'm going to keep that, and I kind of to keep that bit there going. So I think that's actually the top of the box. And then they go a bit like this, and then kind of spray out quite a lot. Because they're obviously fairly old, so these kind of stop there. They're almost in steps till they actually start curling up. And of course we've got that lot of paper there curled out, so still need to get this in here quite nice first. And remember, this is oil paint. It's just you can wash your brushes out. You can just wash your brushes out with you can wash your brushes out with water paper, with water, so but apart from that there isn't, it's still oily and sticky, so we're going to be a bit careful. So I think I'm going to do this. Up to that curl there, because that's quite sprayed out, and then that wants to go like that. Thank you, darling. No, thank you, darling. Right, so I need to do something with this colour now. It's a warmer colour, so I'm going to put a little bit of again, another little dollop, a tiny bead of yellow ochre. That is quite a warm colour now, that one. It is, and it's a bit bright, so a touch of the brown and put most of it up there. And it's going to dull that down. I quite like that one, I think. So just a touch of dilute liquid and it gets to pouring cream, and that one's got that lovely curled up page there, and it kind of behaves itself a little bit until it gets down there and it's got another little kink in it there. So I'm building up these rich pages, so when we get the highlights and shadows in them, it's going to look quite good. So that one tips over quite a lot there. Right, so we can get that. Right, and then we do need a bit of, I'm left-handed. Oopsie. Just bear with me, but I just had to go rescue him because he was getting upset. So there's a lovely kink there on that curly page, And bearing in mind I've made this one up, I've had to make this one up, so there isn't actually a cover on it. But I so love the curl on the other one that I wanted to put a curl on it. Goodness me. And I really don't like being rude. It really upsets me. But there comes a point where... And I won't mind if you're that rude on the phone. They say, oh, you can't say anything. You can't be rude on the phone. So, okay then. Right, so I've taken that off because it's going to be a bit... I've got a lovely shadow down there. A really gorgeous shadow down there. So I've done that one. I don't think I've done this one. So I'm building these up and then I can knock them back down again to a darker colour. And they do that doesn't actually particularly have a yellow tint to it, which is kind of the oldie worldy. It doesn't actually have that, but I quite like it, so I might put that back in. And this is the one that has that gorgeous, again, that little bit of a... It has a page kind of... That's the beauty of old books. If this was new books, they'd be so boring because you wouldn't want to paint them, but because they're all kind of... I don't need to take that down a smidgen. Just a smidgen. Right, so I've still got quite a lot of this nice pale colour, so I want to look at this one, and there is a really nice curl on this one. That I really want, so sometimes you've just got to kind of really go in there. And every time you do this, you're building up character and layers. And there's a lovely little kind of twist on that one which I want to keep. And the idea is to build this up and not keep making a boo-boo. I might want to do that a little bit thicker. I keep getting these blobby bits on them. And the canvas was actually quite good. Considering it was a cheapy one, it was quite good. And I only put 2 layers of really cheap gesso on as well, so you don't have to go out and spend a fortune on expensive things. You can have a play. You can have a play. So I don't have any broken pages on there. Oopsie, I don't have any broken... There's a nice shadow that goes down, and the shadow goes onto this one then. So that's quite nice. But then I've got a highlight here, and that comes over the top, so that looks quite nice. I can just see around the back of there, but I don't really want to do that. This is a nice kink on that one, which I've got, so I just want to save that one. And the edges become clearer and clearer and clearer every time, so eventually you should end up with some really nice effects. I think, although that's quite pale, I like that one, so I think I'm going to go over this one. I did the edge. I think I'm going to just dull that down a smidgen, so you can see I'm still playing in the same place in the palette, so I've gone for paler and I've mixed some of that in between, so I'm going to put a touch a touch of... Do I want... Yeah, I think I get a bit of touch of... and I mean, I touch it and then I touch it somewhere else. I don't have much left of this now, but there will be enough just to do this section. And again, that's quite thick. I'm just going to put a little touch of stand oil and a little touch of fast dry medium, because most of it's got some, and you don't want too much. It's a very fine line, but now that is a bit sloppy for me without water, but I think that's just a shade darker. And it's quite warm, and that book is actually quite warm, so I just want a touch of the thinner, and then that's going to give me, make that just that bit watery, so it becomes just becomes that bit thinner, so it's like pouring cream. So under there, it's quite sharp, is that? It's a very sharp angle, is that one? And it actually, I must have moved the book. Because it's actually a lot less than that, but I can get that back when I do the dark in a minute, and I do the negative shapes all the way around, negative space. So there's a bit of a kink in that one. Bring that down. And this particular one's got quite a wide this is going to be perfect under here, because the other one's going to overhang probably quite a lot more, but if you can see, there's a nice little shape appearing on that one. And the books are kind of, the pages are splayed out just a bit. And they kind of go past. And they're all kind of at different angles. So that's going to be quite interesting, although it's a big, boring book. Just taking that just too far really, but I can get it back again, but I like that. And then really it should be a bit of a tone darker, because it's the same page, but it's the same book, but the light's completely different on that side. So in theory that is just a tone darker. And got quite a nice little thing going on there. Again, another spot that I don't know what it is. There is a piece of paper sticking out of that one as well. And then it goes to kind of a flared edge there. Build that round. Build that round a little bit, and then we can put this layer on. So eventually all the books should be the same tone, I think. And I've just taken that a step too far, but it's okay. I'll just go over it when I go back. So they're all going to pay. They've all got done all the pages again. I've made that one up, and I've made that one up. So I've got to go around these reds. I've done the greens and built up a little bit. I've got to build this one back up again because I've lost it. So thanks for stopping by. Hope everything's okay. I could get away with that book at the bottom being a bit splayed anyway because it's got a lot of weight on it. So, but the spine actually is in good condition. So I've got quite a nice. Where was I going to go next? I made this red. I think I'm going to do the red. So I just go up a little bit to there. I need to do these reds and see if I can just get in there again, just for this kind of really nice negative space. What else have I got? This green. I think I've got anything that's green. And I think I was making these red, so that's red, that's red, that's red, and then I've got this curly edge to do. That will go in next time. I painted that. It's very sticky, but it's, you know, if that was oil paint it would have come off, so it dries really quickly considering it's oil based. Right, so I just need a red now. And we've got a kind of it's a red, but it's I've forgotten the word. Oh, I used it the other day, so I actually know how to use it. I use alizarin crimson and burnt carmine and a bit of purple. So just add a little bit of purple. Sort of French ultramarine and alizarin crimson. And I'm getting a purple colour. It's purple, so it needs toning down a smidgen. And we want a dull purple, but also like a dull red. So I'm going to put actually some cadmium red in there to kind of ready it up a bit. So that's actually quite a nice, it's almost, actually that's the Victorian reddy colour. Put a little bit more red in here and see what happens at this end. And again, don't touch the main colour, play on the edge. So that's kind of gone a little bit browner, and the other one is more purple. So, and I haven't mixed much because I've only got the edges of the books. If I had a lot, then I'd obviously have to use a lot more. So that's a kind of a dull red, and I've lost the purple in that now. But I can put just a touch of French ultramarine. I think it might have been a bit too much, but again, the thing with the Victorian books is that they were never bright colours, or they faded, so that's probably quite nice. So I've got the colour, a bead of so I've got butter now again, lovely soft butter. And I actually quite like that colour. I'm going to purple it up for the top one because it's a bit redder, but I've got that bit of blue up there. So now I just need to put I've got my linseed oil, my stand oil in there. I've got a clean brush. I just need to put just a tiny dot of thinner, and that's what I've been doing, playing into there, but not all of it, just here. And now that's the consistency of cream, and that's what I've been using. So now I go back up here. So this one is purpley, this one. It's the Old Doctors, and they're purpley, but these are kind of red because these aren't quite that Victorian. Actually, when you get it on here now, it's actually quite a nice colour, and that probably is a little bit thin. Might want to start working, and this is where you need your all really is to lean on, because you really need. No, I'm using the arm of my chair, so you've got to have your arm on something because we're getting a bit more now into the more detailed bit. And I don't want to be going anywhere else really. So that first one kinks there. So I'm going to have to make those a different purple. And then we can go into there because that's what we said about the paintings. So this is where we start to put a bit more into it, kind of thing. It gets a bit more interesting now, hopefully. And because I'm making it up, I need to put the same on the other side. So these books, I don't think these are Victorian, so I told a fib. These were my daddy's. 1920, I think 1920. His technical college books. Might be 1930s actually, beg your pardon. It might be 30s, 40s. I think he was 18 when he went to Burma. So, right across there. right across there. Which reminds me, some nice person stole his medals. So we've got a real nice kink on that one. But bearing in mind we're making this up because they're wrapped in brown paper, and I didn't do that. That's how they came. So, and that one goes behind, which is quite nice. Now this might be a bit difficult because we're working wet on wet, and I don't do wet on wet very well. And then this one has I'll do that one. So if I wasn't leaning on my chair arm, I would have to be using an awl, because you've got to have a steady hand. Now we're getting to, if that's the right angle, that one. And then we have a really nice one, but I botched it up. It comes down there, and I botched that up a bit. Because it's at a different angle, and again that's got that bashed top. And the angles are changing because, so that would be, that has a kink on that one. This would come from behind there. So I can always sort that out. Oops, in a bit. I think I want that to be like that. So that one went to there. And then we had that really nice, interesting bit there, which is on that one. And then we can take that back. Again, a bit difficult to do this because we're making it up, which is a bit naughty. I might get hubby to help me lift the books up for next time, because this now needs to dry, and we've got that really nice one there. And that one, because it's going to be a really nice shadow on this and a nice highlight, because it's a shiny book. It's got a bit of a sheen to it. I think they're all leather bound, so they've got that kind of material kind of sheen to them. And the last one is at a really strange angle. And that kind of goes behind there, comes out. So that's that. So I'm going to leave those, because if you start messing about when it's wet, as I say, I'm not clever enough to do that. I'm going to put that little tiny bit of purple French ultramarine, sorry, that I had there. I'm going to mix that in. See how strong it is? It's only a tiny bit. But that's just made that into a dull purple, which was perfect. I just want to touch, and of course that's now made that absolutely perfect for this purple book. And again, it's quite nice to and then I'm going to darken it up for the other ones as well. But I like this. I've just got to get a smaller brush, I think. So we've got kind of a really flat edge that kind of curls up now. And it goes under there. So I need a smaller brush. Got to make sure that you clean your brush. And I need a smaller brush. So I've got this one. This is quite small. Again, wet it with water. And I'm just going to put a touch of the thinner. Because I don't want it like butter, I need it like cream. So, let me have a look. You can't really see these. These are the 100-year-old ones, and they are kind of a little bit frayed at the edges, so there's not much to see under here really. Just kind of a hint. Now on either side of this, I'm going to find a shadow. So the next one is kind of really under there. And another Victorian, but they're not quite as... Oh dear. You do need an awl so that you can kind of... Maybe just a touch. You can always tell if it's sticky. You need a consistency of double cream, pouring cream, because otherwise your brush doesn't glide across. Oh dear. And you end up without a straight line kind of thing. Oopsie. Is that any better? Sorry about that. And there isn't many that with the back on, because say they're all kind of really kind of old and decrepit. But we want a hint of a dark pinky purple kind of thing. Now they change angles. They've got some really nice angles on here. So that one's there. That one goes to there. And then moves. This one kind of comes to here. And then moves. So again, I like the fact they're all a little bit different. And again, this is just a glaze. This is just to give another indication of what we're doing. Every step is another little, and that one goes over there. Now there aren't any broken pages on these particular books. There's no sticky outy pages or broken pages. Whoopsie. Made a boo-boo. I don't suppose it matters too much actually. And probably kitchen papers are slightly better, so I'm going to leave that alone for a minute. I'm not going to go near there again. So it's almost like a cardboard that's kind of disintegrated, but and again another little quirky corner. So if this was a pile of brand new books, it would be quite boring. So the last one, that one does actually have some red, that one. And so does that one. Because technically that's the spine. But for some reason, and again there's going to be a nice highlight on that one. That one stops short there. And this one is a little bit shorter, so I'm going to have to just put a touch of dark on there because I won't be able to see it because I've made it up. So that's just a bit short there. So define them a little bit more. And what else have we got? I think that's the most difficult. Now, this one wants to be done. So I'm going to do this one the same. I think I'm going to do this in the same colour. Probably add a touch of French ultramarine, just a touch. Are you okay, Nigel? Oh, that's quite nice for everybody to know. Where is he now? Oh my goodness. Alfie's having a new turn of events. He's been a good boy. So this one here is like a gorgeous maroon red. And I think I'm going to just I've got a dark purple instead of a maroon red. So just having a play for a minute. Ah, there we go. I don't think it's got a lot of yeah, it's a really rich maroon red is this. It's a very old Victorian doctor's book. So I've kind of got it kind of really reddy pink, sorry, really reddy maroon. And again, this isn't set in stone, this is just for me to kind of keep adding those quirky little bits to them. And I made up the spine because it's missing, so that's kind of really rounded. And again it's kind of curled round. And it's one of those books that has a wider spine, a wider edge than the pages, because they're quite old. They used to make them like that. And I've made this top up, so we're going to have to make that kink. Up and round as well, because we've made that up. And I don't want to spoil that underneath of that one, because it was just kind of a natural shadow, that. So that's going to come forward to kind of curl down. And that's going to come from behind there. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Hope everybody's okay. It's a strange day in the UK. It's quite warm. It's always cold in my room, but it's quite. I got the impression it's quite warm. I think we're going to have. We'll have a bit of a dip in that, so that we can show it's kind of really bashed there. And it's quite dark, is that, but it'll show up eventually. The angles don't look too bad. There is a bit of foreshortening and weird things going on, because that's what happens with squares. Just going to take a little bit off that one, because it's the top book that I moved, so we're not going to hit the back of there, we're just going to miss it. So that should be okay. So everything's tacky now. Everything's tacky. Everything's had another layer. Let's see if I can pan out a bit. So we've given everything another layer. So I'm going to stop there because everything's had a layer, so I'm going to do a background in part 4. So that's the end of part 3. Thank you for watching.